closing arguments expected to get underway today in the departmental trial of NYPD officer Daniel Pantaleo over at One Police Plaza. The calls for justice have gotten louder each day. Take a listen.
All right, so this morning we are joined by Eric Garner's mother, Gwen Carr, and his sister, Alicia, who stopped by for heading to to the hearing downtown this morning. So we want to thank both of you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Let me start with you. You've been there watching this play out. Were you surprised that Pantaleo did not speak, in his own testimony yesterday? And what did you want to hear?
Yeah, I was surprised and I was appalled that they were not going to let him testify. They're saying that he'll just the statement that he gives to the department is what will be entered into evidence. No chance of cross-examining, nothing. So, what is that saying?
And they were saying by him going to testify could have implicated him down the road for civil rights charges. Right. But a big sticking point in this disciplinary hearing was what actually happened on that day. Was it a chokehold? Was it what they're calling, which was a seatbelt hold? We have a little bit of an interview with the PVA president, and I want to get your reaction.
This police officer went out and did what he was asked and how he was trained.
So, Alicia, they've been standing by this, saying it was a seatbelt hold all along, but you guys obviously feel differently, right?
Very much so. Actually, Daniel Pantaleo is almost around the same size as Eric, if you really look at it, and his arms was long enough to actually give him that seatbelt maneuver, but he chose to do otherwise.
And a seatbelt maneuver, just so people understand, is around the chest and torso area.
Right.
Obviously, the medical examiner ruled this was a chokehold.
Right, correct.
And said that is what led to the death. But then we have another medical examiner, the chief one from St. Louis, who said, oh, that's not the case. It was asthma and heart disease. We heard from a pathologist as well. What do you say about these conflicting testimonies?
Well, first of all, that medical examiner never did any kind of autopsy on Eric.
The one from St. Louis?
The one from St. Louis. And even in his testimony, and as far as the asthma, he said Eric wasn't having an asthma attack at the time. They said, well, he had heart disease. And he even stated the rate that his heart was in, it wasn't any danger of him dying that day. If it wasn't aggravated, they called it a lethal cascade. The chokehold brought on other events that caused his death.
So moving forward, after today, we hear the closing arguments. The judge makes a ruling on what they feel should happen to Officer Pantaleo. But you might not necessarily know what that ruling is, because then it gets sent to the police commissioner who makes the final determination, correct?
And that's correct. It's getting sent to Commissioner O'Neill, which we may never know what the results are because of the 50A that the police hide behind. And this is why we are so adamant of getting rid of 50A.
The union.
Yes, the 50A, it protects the police officers from their disciplinary, if they have disciplinary actions on their records, we can't see them. And the only way we saw Pantaleo is because it was leaked. They paid out of pocket twice because of Pantaleo's misconduct. And they're talking about he's an upstanding police officer. He has 7 things against him in his record. So is that what you call an upstanding police officer?
So how hopeful are you of really getting a truthful answer to all of this, right? Because the commissioner doesn't have to go with what the judge decides, right? He can do whatever he wants to do.
And that's correct. And so that's why we are pushing, and we want to know what the results are. Although they're saying that we can't see them, but we're going to push to see exactly what happens to this officer, because it's a shame if they don't fire this officer. And not only this officer, there were other officers who was involved in my son's death that day also, and they all need to stand accountable.
And so you're saying that not only are you fighting for your son, but you're fighting for other cases as well because of this 50A rule.
Exactly. And it hurts all of us. So we have to stand as New Yorkers to get rid of that 50A situation.
All right, we're going to be there every step of the way following. We thank you both for coming in.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right, 821.